Hello, Jazz Studies families. This is Miss Hetrick doing a short video for you about the Quarter 3 project Recipe for Creation. I'm doing this on behalf of myself and Mr. Adam Noble, Director of Bands and the other instructor for this course. I apologize in advance if any of the audio cuts out, as I am using my laptop to do this, so please don't hesitate to email if you have any questions. So this is an image from the whiteboard in my classroom that talks about our Quarter 3 project Recipe for Creation. Students just completed a multi-week boot camp, for lack of a better term, with different jazz concepts, both from the social studies point of view and also from the musical. So students have had a number of opportunities to brainstorm what their areas of interest are. Some of their questions, whether they be musical, historical, or a mix of both. And we are now currently here at this stage, the development of the inquiry question. Once students have identified what they want to explore through research, hopefully they will eventually get to a point where they are able to answer their question and support with evidence. And down the line, they'll be demonstrating their learning in some sort of product. And that product is going to be shared with others. So this is kind of the big process that we are working through. But I'd like to break it down a little bit further for everybody. So step 1, creating an inquiry question. So we're looking for students to ask a how or a why question. So some of the examples of questions that we have already answered in class, so you can't use these as particular quandaries, but how is jazz reflective of history? You can't just Google that in 10 minutes and get a solid answer. It takes a lot of thinking and also providing evidence to be able to do that. Why does jazz differ based on geography? You'd have to have specific examples of geography, specific examples of jazz, in order to be able to prove your point. Why is the concept of improvisation different in jazz than in other genres? Again, you would need evidence to be able to support your viewpoint on that. So students, through a variety of brainstormed activities, have started to pull out what they're most interested in and have already met with Mr. Noble and me to start talking about them. The final inquiry question will be due this Friday, February 23rd. And we're hoping that it is reflective of student interests based on things we've talked about in boot camp. Step 2 is the research to discover the answer to your inquiry question. I'll talk about the schedule in just a few minutes, but there are 3 days of the week designated for working, designated for research, and some of those days will even be in the library. So reaching out to Ms. Doherty, the librarian, to help identify different resources. And you're not restricted just to the library. We are definitely encouraging students to reach out to professionals in the field. Please ask your student about the organizational structure they plan on using for keeping track of their research. In class, we did set up a Google Drive folder that's shared with both instructors, as well as a bookmarks folder for any websites that they might use. But of course, whether it's note cards, writing things down, a Google Doc, whatever works for your student to help really pull out the important pieces of information. So we're not telling you how to do this. We'll reach out to make sure everybody has some sort of structure in place. Step 3 is going to be your inquiry, answer, defense. You've created an inquiry question, you're working through research to answer that question, and to move on, you're going to need to go through what we're calling a defense. This is something that master's and doctoral students actually do, of course with more intensity than what we're doing, but you're going to meet with your 2 instructors and prove to them that you have answered your inquiry question. You're using evidence. You're going to be assessed based on a specific rubric, and that will be distributed either at the end of this week or the beginning of next week. And you can redo this as many times as you need to, as many times until you get the grade that you want, and or as many times as you need to make sure that both instructors are confident that you have effectively answered that inquiry question. Okay, so if you're given approval, you move on to the next step. If we consider it to be in progress, you're not quite there yet, given some specific goals or pointers to help improve. So both sides could request a redo of this step. So this is in place of some sort of formal research paper. You're doing this verbally and again, showing of evidence. Step 4, more information will come about this later, is the creation of some sort of project to demonstrate your learning. So it could be a formal presentation, a blog, you see some other ideas there. Opportunities are truly endless, but the deadline will be right before the end of the third marking period. That's why this is the quarter 3 project. So more details and a detailed rubric coming soon. Step 5 is sharing it out, most likely integrated with your demonstration project. And a number of opportunities in school and out of school for that sharing. So we're really excited about this. So let's talk about grades. So if you take a look at the pink table, there are some project-specific grades that go into the project category in Aspen. This is worth 55% of your overall course grade. There are weekly check-ins. That is a sit-down meeting with both instructors to talk about what challenges you're facing, what you've discovered. So it's making sure that you're continuing to make progress even though you're working independently. Your inquiry answer defense, 50 points. Again, you'll be able to redo it as many times as you would like. And that final product, demonstrating your learning and sharing it with others, will be worth 100 points. Now, looking at the purple table, there are grades going in every week that are project supporting grades. So they're not necessarily directly contributing to answering your inquiry question or producing your product, but they will be beneficial to those. One are your journal entries. Every Monday, you are setting goals for yourself, and at the end of the week, you're responding to what did you accomplish this week and what are your needs for the future. So 10 points each week for that. Also, we're going to talk about mini sessions. Each week, a student is expected to go to at least one social studies and one music mini session. There are 2 assignments that are going to be attached to each of those minis, and the minis are created each week based on the needs of the students as expressed in their journals the previous week. So last Thursday was the last day of the week for us, and students shared what they're planning on working on and what their needs are. So the 2 of us, 2 instructors, sat down and created the minis. So let me give you an example of a schedule. This is what we're doing for the week of February 19th, subject to change, of course. Monday, group meeting, sharing of the schedule, signing up for our little mini sessions, personal goal setting and creating a to-do list in your journals, and the rest of the period is working time. Tuesday, there's a social studies mini session, 1920s Prohibition, the mob, and the speakeasy. That will be no more than 20 minutes. Then there's a music mini session, bebop and swing in the speakeasy. So students can decide to sign up for both, just one or neither. And if they don't sign up for a mini, that period will be a working period. Wednesday is working time, opportunity to sign up for your weekly meeting. Again, students need to initiate that weekly meeting, which is that 10 points a week opportunity to share with their peers. Thursday, starting with a music mini session, the electrification of jazz, and then social studies, biography, the good, the bad, the gnarly, and the irrelevant. A number of students have indicated they want to do work about individuals, specific people. So that's why this biography session was created. A number of students are interested in how instruments changed from acoustic to electric. That's one of the reasons for the electrification of jazz mini session. So what students are working on is really the driving force of what these mini sessions are going to be. Friday, reflecting in your journal, opportunity for that weekly meeting, and additional working time. Students can sign up for their minis in the classroom. We might end up going to a digital form, but since it's our first week, we decided to try it this way. So you can see specific students have signed up for the social studies session. It's in red, and the music session is in blue. So this helps the instructors kind of plan if there's going to be a session with 1 or 2 students. It will still run. That's not a problem. Just want to make sure we have enough materials for everybody. Students can also sign up for their meeting requests, or their weekly meetings, I should say. Again, those 10-point check-ins. So we essentially have 2 different ways we're checking in. Students are giving us updates in writing, and students are also sitting and chatting with us verbally. Both of them are very, very helpful. So as we've talked to our students in class, there are a number of moving pieces that are all occurring at the same time in relation to this project. But once we get into this routine with Monday and Wednesday potentially even being in the high school library. We're really, really excited to see, with so much working time, what students are going to be able to create. If you have any questions, feel